ghost is coming back. You see.
It started as a late-night project for friends gathered in a cramped apartment, the glow of computer screens lighting their faces as they scroll through hours of security footage from across the United States. Ethan, always the skeptic, insisted most viral clips were faked or easily explained, but Maya had a knack for finding the ones that defied logic. Jake, the tech guy, had hacked into obscure archives, pulling up files that had never been seen by the public. Olivia, who ran a true crime podcast, wanted to create a special episode one that would chill even the most hardened listeners. They decided to document their reactions as they watched the creepiest, most unexplained security footage, though recorded in America, not knowing that some things are better left unseen. The first video was from a gas station in rural Ohio, dated October 2017. The footage showed a lone attendant mopping the floor at 2:13 a.m. when the lights began to flicker. A shadow moved across the back wall, but there was no one else in the store. The attendant looked up, confused, and the security camera glitched, the image warping as if something was interfering with the signal. For a split second, a pale face appeared in the reflection of the freezer door, eyes wide and mouth open in a silent scream. The friends paused the video, their laughter fading as they realized the face didn't match anyone who worked there or anyone who should have been alive. Jake tried to explain it away as a camera malfunction, but Maya replayed the clip in slow motion, her finger tracing the outline of the face on the screen. Olivia searched 4 news reports from that night, but found nothing. No break-ins, no accidents, no deaths. Ethan shrugged, but his eyes lingered on the frozen image, the way the face seemed to be looking right at them. The group moved on to the next file, a hotel lobby in New Orleans, 2019. The footage was grainy. The lobby empty except for a night manager at the front desk. At 3:07 a.m. the elevator doors opened by themselves, and a figure stepped out tall, thin, dressed in old-fashioned clothes, its face blurred beyond recognition. The figure walked across the lobby, leaving wet footprints on the marble floor, but the security guard didn't seem to notice. The friends watched as the figure paused in front of the camera, its head tilting at an unnatural angle, as if it could see them watching. The lights flickered, and the figure vanished, leaving only the wet footprints behind. Olivia checked the hotel's history, and found a single line in an old article. A guest had drowned in the hotel pool 1924, and guests sometimes reported seeing wet footprints in the lobby. The group sat in silence, the room suddenly colder, as if something from the footage had slipped into their apartment. The next video was from a suburban home in Arizona, captured by a doorbell camera in 2021. The footage began normally: a delivery driver dropping off a package, a neighbor walking their dog, but at 2:44 a.m., the camera picked up a child, standing motionless at the end of the driveway, staring directly into the lens. The child's eyes reflected the infrared light, glowing white in the darkness. For 10 minutes, the child didn't move, didn't blink, just stared. Then, without warning, the child turned and walked away, vanishing into the shadows. The police were called, but no missing children were ever reported in the area. Maya paused the video, her voice barely above a whisper as she pointed out the strange way the child's shadow stretched across the lawn, bending at impossible angles. Jake enhanced the footage, but the child's face remained a blur, the features shifting and changing with every frame. Olivia checked local forums and found dozens of posts about a watcher seen on security cameras, always at night, always staring. Ethan tried to laugh it off, but the unease in the room was growing. The friends realized that some footage wasn't just unexplained, it was a warning, a glimpse into something that didn't want to be understood. The group decided to take a break, but the apartment felt different now, the shadows deeper, the silence heavier. Olivia suggested they watch one more clip before calling it a night. Jake pulled up a file from a storage facility in Michigan, dated January 2020. The footage showed rows of metal doors, the hallway empty except for a single flickering light. At 3:33 a.m., a storage unit door slowly creaked open, though no one was visible on camera. A dark shape crawled out, moving on all fours, its limbs too long, its movements jerky and unnatural. The shape paused in front of the camera, its head snapping up to reveal a face with no eyes, just smooth, pale skin. The friends recoiled as the shape crawled toward the lens, the footage glitching and distorting as it drew closer. Suddenly, the camera went black, and when the feed returned, the hallway was empty, the storage unit door closed. Olivia checked police records and found a report of a missing person last seen entering that facility, never to be found. The friends sat in stunned silence, the sense of being watched stronger than ever, as if something from the footage was now watching them. Ethan tried to shake off the feeling, insisting it was just a trick of the light, but Maya noticed the timestamp on the storage footage, 3:33 a.m. The so-called witching hour. Jake nervously joked about cursed files, but Olivia's eyes were fixed on the screen, replaying the moment the creature's face appeared. She wondered aloud if the missing person had ever really left the building. The group decided to dig deeper, searching for more footage from the same facility. What they found was even stranger. A second camera, positioned outside, caught a glimpse of the same shadowy figure crawling across the parking lot, vanishing into the darkness as if it had never existed. The friends watched in horror as the outdoor camera glitched, the image warping as the creature passed beneath a streetlight. For a split second, the light flickered and the shadow seemed to split in two, one half crawling toward the woods, the other dissolving into the pavement. Jake enhanced the footage, but the pixels twisted and blurred, refusing to reveal any more detail. Maya whispered that some things weren't meant to be seen, and Olivia agreed, her voice shaking. Ethan tried to laugh, but the sound died in his throat. The group sat in silence, the apartment colder than before, as if the darkness from the footage had seeped into their world. They decided to switch gears and watch a clip from a police station in Texas, recorded in 2015. The footage showed an empty holding cell, the metal bed bolted to the wall, the lights buzzing overhead. At 4:12 a.m., the camera caught a misty shape, forming in the corner, slowly taking the outline of a person. The mist hovered for several minutes, then drifted across the cell, passing through the bars and disappearing into the hallway. The officers on duty never noticed, but the temperature in the cell dropped by 20 degrees, according to the logs. The friends watched, transfixed, as the mist seemed to pause in front of the camera, its form flickering between human and something else. Olivia researched the station's history and found that a prisoner had died in that very cell decades earlier, under mysterious circumstances. Maya wondered if the mist was a restless spirit, trapped and searching for a way out. Jake tried to debunk the footage, but even he admitted the temperature drop was hard to explain. Ethan grew quiet, his skepticism fading as the evidence mounted. The friends realized that the more they watched, the more the line between reality and nightmare blurred. The apartment felt smaller, the shadows longer, as if the spirits from the footage were drawing closer with every clip. The next video was from a fast food restaurant in Florida, captured in 2018. The footage showed the kitchen after hours, empty except for the hum of the refrigerators. At 2:22 a.m. the fryers turned on by themselves, oil bubbling as if someone had pressed the button. The camera caught a shadow moving across the floor. Then a chair slid out from under a table, scraping loudly against the tiles. The friends leaned in, watching as the shadow grew darker, almost solid, before vanishing into the walk-in freezer. The kitchen lights flickered, and the camera glitched, freezing on a single frame, a handprint, smeared in grease, on the inside of the freezer door. Maya shivered, remembering stories of haunted restaurants and poltergeist activity. Olivia checked local news and found a report of a worker who had disappeared during a night shift years before, never found. Jake enhanced the handprint, revealing long, thin fingers, and a palm too large to be human. Ethan's skepticism was gone now, replaced by a growing fear. The friends realized that every piece of footage they watched seemed to leave a mark not just on the screen, but on their minds. The apartment lights flickered, and for a moment, they all wondered if something was watching them from the shadows. They tried to laugh it off, but the tension in the room was thick. Jake suggested they watch a clip from a school in Pennsylvania, recorded in 2016. The footage showed a long, empty hallway lined with lockers, the clock on the wall reading 3:01 a.m. Suddenly, the lockers began to rattle, one by one, as if something invisible was moving down the hall. The security camera shook, the image blurring as a cold mist rolled across the floor. At the far end of the hallway, a figure appeared, a girl in an old-fashioned dress, her hair covering her face, standing perfectly still as the mist swirled around her feet. The friends watched as the girl slowly lifted her head, revealing empty eye sockets and a mouth sewn shut with black thread. The mist thickened, obscuring the camera, and when it cleared, the hallway was empty again. Olivia searched for urban legends about the school and found stories of a student who had vanished in the 1950s, her disappearance never solved. Maya whispered that the girl's dress matched the year. Ethan and Jake sat in stunned silence, the reality of what they were seeing sinking in. The friends realized that some footage was more than just unexplained. It was a window into the past, and sometimes the past looked back. The group sat in silence, the only sound the hum of the computer fans. Jake hesitated before playing the next clip, a security video from a hospital in Illinois, recorded in 2014. The footage showed a dimly lit hallway outside the ICU, the clock reading for 4:44 a.m. A nurse walked past, glancing nervously over her shoulder. Suddenly, a wheelchair rolled out of an empty room by itself, stopping in the middle of the hall. The lights flickered, and a shadowy figure appeared behind the nurse, tall and thin, its face hidden in darkness. The nurse turned, but the figure vanished, leaving only the wheelchair spinning slowly in place. Olivia checked hospital records and found that several patients had died in that room over the years, all at the same hour. Maya wondered if the shadow was a harbinger, a spirit collecting souls. Jake enhanced the footage, but the figure's face remained hidden, a void that seemed to swallow the light. Ethan's hands shook. He paused the video. The image of the spinning wheelchair burned into his mind. The friends realized that some places never let go of their dead, and the footage was more than just a recording. It was a glimpse into the moments when the veil between worlds grew thin. They moved on to a clip from a parking garage in Los Angeles, captured in 2022. The footage showed rows of empty cars, the concrete pillars casting long shadows. At 1:11 a.m., a man entered the garage, looking over his shoulder, as if being followed. He hurried to his car, fumbling with his keys. Suddenly, the lights went out, plunging the garage into darkness. When the lights flickered back on, the man was gone, his car door still open, keys dangling from the ignition. The camera caught a brief glimpse of a figure standing in the far corner, its eyes glowing white in the darkness. Olivia searched for missing persons reports and found that the man had never been found, his disappearance still unsolved. Maya pointed out the strange way the figure's eyes seemed to follow the camera, even as the footage glitched and distorted. Jake tried to enhance the image, but the pixels twisted into a smile that wasn't there before. Ethan's voice was barely a whisper as he admitted he was scared. The friends realized that some footage didn't just capture the unexplained, it became part of it, a digital haunting that lingered long after the screen went dark. The next video was from a rural farmhouse in Nebraska, recorded by a baby monitor in 2019. The footage showed a nursery at night, the crib empty, the mobile spinning slowly. At 2:06 a.m. the door creaked open, and the cold mist drifted into the room. The mobile stopped spinning, and the shadow appeared in the corner, growing taller and darker, until it filled the wall. The camera glitched, and for a moment, a face appeared in the mist, old, wrinkled, eyes wide with terror. The friends watched as the shadow shrank back into the corner, the mist vanishing as quickly as it had come. Maya searched for stories about the farmhouse and found that the previous owner, an elderly woman, had died alone in that room. Olivia wondered if her spirit was still searching for peace. Jake enhanced the footage, but the face in the mist remained blurred, shifting between fear and sadness. Ethan admitted he felt sorry for the ghost, but Maya warned that not all spirits wanted help. The friends realized that some footage was a cry for help, a message from the other side that could never be answered. They decided to watch a clip from a subway station in New York City, recorded in 2020. The footage showed an empty platform late at night, the clock reading to 59 a.m. A train pulled in, but no one got off. The doors opened and closed, the train sitting idle for several minutes. Suddenly, a figure appeared at the far end of the platform, dressed in black, its face hidden by a hood. The figure walked slowly toward the camera, but as it passed under each light, its shadow split into 2, then 3, then 4, each moving in a different direction. Jake enhanced the footage, but the figure's face remained hidden, the shadows moving independently as if alive. Maya whispered that she had heard stories of shadow people in the subway, spirits that followed commuters home. Olivia checked local forums and found dozens of reports of people seeing the same hooded figure. Always at 2:59 a.m. Ethan shivered, realizing that some footage didn't just show the unexplained, it captured the moment when the ordinary became terrifying. The friends sat in silence, the city's distant sounds suddenly feeling much closer. The friends hesitated before playing the next clip, a security video from a small-town church in Kentucky, recorded in 2013. The footage showed the empty sanctuary at the midnight, pews bathed in moonlight from stained glass windows. At 12:34 a.m., the organ began to play by itself, the keys moving with invisible hands. The camera caught a faint figure sitting in the front row, head bowed, dressed in tattered Sunday clothes. As the music grew louder, the figure slowly lifted its head, revealing a face twisted in sorrow, eyes streaming with black tears. Olivia searched for the church's history and found that a parishioner had died during a service decades ago, the organ playing her favorite hymn as she passed. Maya wondered if the spirit returned every year on the anniversary, reliving her final moments. Jake enhanced the footage, the black tears on the figure's face glistening in the moonlight. Ethan felt a chill, realizing that some hauntings were born from grief, not anger. The friends sat quietly, the sound of the phantom organ echoing in their minds, the line between the living and the dead blurring with every scene. They moved on to a clip from a highway rest stop in Nevada, recorded in 2017. The footage showed a row of vending machines under harsh fluorescent lights, the desert stretching into darkness beyond. At 3:03 a.m. a car pulled in, headlights sweeping across the lot. A man got out, walked to the machines, and inserted $1. Suddenly, the lights flickered and the camera glitched, showing the man standing in 3 places at once by the car, at the machine, and near the restroom door. The images overlapped, then snapped back to normal, as the man stumbled away, visibly shaken. Jake replayed the footage, frame by frame, but couldn't explain the glitch. Maya suggested it was a time slip, a moment when reality fractured. Olivia found a forum post from the man himself, describing how he lost time that night and felt watched by something he couldn't see. Ethan admitted he was starting to believe that some places were thin, the boundaries between worlds fragile. The friends realized that not all unexplained footage showed ghosts. Sometimes it captured the universe itself breaking down, leaving behind evidence that reality was stranger than anyone wanted to believe. The next video was from a pet store in Oregon, recorded in 2021. The footage showed rows of cages and aquariums, the store empty after closing. At 1:17 a.m., the animals began to react, dogs barking, birds fluttering, fish darting in frantic circles. The camera caught a cold mist drifting through the aisles, the temperature dropping so fast that frost formed on the glass tanks. In the center of the store, a shadowy figure appeared, its form shifting between animal and human, its eyes glowing yellow in the darkness. Olivia researched the location and found that the store was built on the site of an old animal shelter, closed after a fire decades ago. Maya wondered if the spirits of lost animals lingered, drawn to the new life in the store. Jake enhanced the footage, the figure's form flickering between a large dog and a person. Ethan felt a pang of sadness, realizing that not all hauntings were human. The friends sat in silence, the sound of barking and fluttering wings echoing in their minds, the footage a reminder that the past never truly disappears. They decided to watch a clip from a fire station in Massachusetts, recorded in 2018. The footage showed the empty garage at night, fire trucks parked in neat rows. At 2:27 a.m. the alarm bell rang by itself, echoing through the building. The camera caught a firefighter's helmet, sliding off a hook and landing upright on the floor. A cold mist drifted through the garage, and for a moment, the outline of a firefighter in full gear appeared, saluting the trucks before fading away. The friends watched in awe, the sense of respect and loss palpable even through the screen. Olivia found a memorial online for a firefighter who had died in the line of duty, his helmet number matching the one in the footage. Maya whispered that some spirits returned not out of anger, but out of duty and love. Jake enhanced the image, the ghostly figures salute clear and proud. Ethan wiped his eyes, moved by the sacrifice and the lingering presence. The friends realized that not all unexplained footage was meant to scare some, was a reminder of courage, loyalty, and the bonds that even death could not break.
The next video was from a museum in Washington, D.C., recorded in 2015. The footage showed a dimly lit gallery after hours, priceless artifacts locked behind glass. At 3:09 a.m., the security camera caught a statue's eyes moving, following the night guard as he walked past. The guard paused, sensing something, but kept moving. Suddenly, a display case opened by itself, and a cold mist spilled out, swirling around the statue. The friends watched as the statue's head turned ever so slightly, its stone lips parting in a silent scream before snapping back to its original position. Olivia researched the artifact and found it had been stolen from a burial site decades ago, its return demanded by local tribes. Maya wondered if the spirit of the original owner haunted the museum, seeking justice. Jake enhanced the footage, the statue's face frozen in a look of terror. Ethan admitted he felt uneasy, as if the past was reaching out through the screen. The friends realized that some unexplained footage was a warning, a reminder that history's wrongs could never be buried, and that some spirits would never rest until they were heard. They moved on to a clip from a bridge in West Virginia, recorded in 2016. The footage showed the empty span at night, fog rolling over the river below. At 2:22 a.m., a figure appeared at the center of the bridge, dressed in white, her hair blowing in the wind. The camera glitched as she stepped onto the railing, her arms outstretched. Suddenly, she vanished, the fog swallowing her whole. The friends watched as the camera panned back, revealing a second figure standing at the far end of the bridge, watching in silence. Olivia found local legends about the White Lady, a spirit said to haunt the bridge after losing her life in a tragic accident. Maya whispered that the second figure might be the one who caused her death, doomed to watch her fall for eternity. Jake enhanced the footage, the fog swirling around the figures, their faces blurred and sorrowful. Ethan shivered, realizing that some hauntings were endless loops, moments of pain replayed forever. The friends sat in silence, the weight of the tragedy pressing in, the footage a reminder that some stories never end. The next video was from a grocery store in Minnesota, recorded in 2020. The footage showed empty aisles late at night, the lights buzzing overhead. At 3:45 a.m., cans began to roll off the shelves, one by one, as if pushed by invisible hands. The camera caught a shadow darting between the aisles, too fast to be human. Suddenly, the automatic doors opened and closed, though no one entered or left. The friends watched as the shadow paused in front of the camera, its form flickering between child and adult, its eyes glowing red for a split second before vanishing. Maya searched for reports of strange activity at the store and found dozens of complaints from employees about cold spots and objects moving on their own. Olivia wondered if the shadow was a poltergeist, a spirit fueled by anger or pain. Jake enhanced the footage, the red eyes burning into the screen. Ethan admitted he was starting to believe that some places were magnets for the unexplained. The friends realized that every video they watched left them more convinced that the world was stranger, and more haunted, than they had ever imagined. They decided to watch a clip from a cemetery in Georgia, recorded by a motion-activated camera in 2018. The footage showed rows of headstones under a full moon, the grass swaying in the breeze. At 12:12 a.m., a figure appeared among the graves, dressed in black, its face hidden by a veil. The camera caught the figure kneeling at a headstone, placing flowers before vanishing into thin air. Moments later, the flowers wilted and turned to dust, the grass around the grave dying in a perfect circle. Olivia researched the grave and found it belonged to a woman who had been accused of witchcraft centuries ago. Maya whispered that the figure might be her spirit, returning to mourn what was lost. Jake enhanced the footage, the veil lifting for a split second to reveal empty eye sockets. Ethan felt a chill, realizing that some hauntings were about memory and justice, not just fear. The friends sat in silence, the image of the dying grass burned into their minds, the footage a reminder that the past was never truly buried. The next video was from a public library in Maine, recorded in 2017. The footage showed rows of bookshelves in the reading room, the clock on the wall reading 2:02 a.m. At first, nothing happened, but then a book slid off the shelf and landed open on the floor. The camera caught a cold mist drifting between the aisles, pages flipping by themselves. Suddenly, a shadowy hand reached out from the mist, tracing words on the open page before vanishing. The friends watched as the book snapped shut, the mist dissolving into the darkness. Olivia researched the library's history and found that a librarian had died there decades ago, rumored to haunt the stack searching for a lost manuscript. Maya wondered if the spirit was trying to communicate, using the books as a message. Jake enhanced the footage, the shadowy hand clear and unmistakable. Ethan admitted he felt a strange respect for the ghost, as if it was more curious than malevolent. The friends realized that some unexplained footage was a conversation across time, a message from those who refused to be forgotten. They moved on to a clip from a mountain cabin in Colorado, recorded in 2019. The footage showed a snow-covered porch at night, the wind howling outside. At 3:13 a.m., the camera caught a figure standing at the edge of the woods, its body tall and thin, its face hidden in shadow. The figure moved closer, its footsteps leaving no prints in the snow. The porch light flickered, and the figure paused at the door, pressing its hand against the glass. For a moment, the camera glitched, and the figure's face appeared, hollow eyes, a mouth stretched in a silent scream, before vanishing into the darkness. Olivia found local legends about a watcher in the woods, a spirit said to appear during snowstorms, seeking warmth it could never find. Maya whispered that the figure's face matched old sketches from the 1800s. Jake enhanced the footage, the hollow eyes and stretched mouth clear and terrifying. Ethan shivered, realizing that some hauntings were born from loneliness, not just anger. The friends sat in silence, the wind outside their apartment suddenly sounding much closer, the footage a reminder that some spirits were always searching for a way in. The next video was from a high school gym in Ohio, recorded in 2018. The footage showed the empty gymnasium at night, basketballs lined up along the wall. At 2:55 a.m., the balls began to roll across the floor, bouncing as if dribbled by invisible hands. The camera caught a shadowy figure running the length of the court, its form flickering between child and adult. The scoreboard lit up, displaying a score that made no sense, 666-0, before the lights went out, plunging the gym into darkness. Olivia searched for stories about the gym and found that a tragic accident had occurred there decades ago, a student dying during a late-night practice. Maya wondered if the spirit was reliving the final game, unable to move on. Jake enhanced the footage, the shadowy figure's face a blur of pain and longing. Ethan admitted he felt a strange sadness, realizing that some hauntings were about unfinished dreams. The friends realized that every unexplained video was a story, a moment frozen in time, waiting for someone to remember. They decided to watch a clip from a historic theater in Chicago, recorded in 2016. The footage showed the empty stage and rows of velvet seats, the chandelier casting eerie shadows. At 1:44 a.m., the curtains moved by themselves, and a spotlight flickered on, illuminating a ghostly figure in a tattered costume. The figure began to dance, spinning and leaping across the stage, its movements graceful but unnatural. The friends watched as the figure bowed to an invisible audience, then vanished as the spotlight went dark. Olivia found records of a performer who had died on stage decades ago. Her final show never finished. Maya whispered that the spirit was still dancing, longing for applause that would never come. Jake enhanced the footage, the dancer's face a mask of beauty and sorrow. Ethan felt a chill, realizing that some hauntings were about love and loss, not just fear. The friends sat in silence, the image of the ghostly dancer lingering in their minds, the footage a reminder that the stage was never truly empty. The next video was from a laundromat in New Jersey, recorded in 2022. The footage showed rows of empty washing machines spinning late at night, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. At 3:06 a.m., the machines all stopped at once, doors swinging open in unison. The camera caught a shadowy figure reflected in the glass, its face twisted in a silent scream. The friends watched as the figure moved from machine to machine, its hands pressing against the glass, leaving behind wet, bloody handprints that faded as quickly as they appeared. Olivia searched for news about the laundromat and found a report of a tragic accident years before, a worker trapped inside a machine during a night shift. Maya whispered that the spirit was still trying to escape, reliving the moment of terror. Jake enhanced the footage, the bloody handprints clear and disturbing. Ethan felt a wave of dread, realizing that some hauntings were cries for help that would never be answered. The friends sat in silence, the image of the screaming reflection burned into their minds, the footage a reminder that some places never forget. They moved on to a clip from a zoo in California, recorded in 2018. The footage showed the empty reptile house at night, glass enclosures lining the walls. At 2:29 a.m., the camera caught a cold mist drifting through the room, the snakes and lizards reacting in fear. Suddenly, a shadowy figure appeared inside one of the enclosures, its form shifting between human and reptile. The friends watched as the figure pressed its face against the glass, eyes glowing green, before vanishing into the mist. Olivia found stories of a zookeeper who had died mysteriously in the reptile house decades ago, rumored to have been cursed. Maya wondered if the spirit was trapped, forever shifting between worlds. Jake enhanced the footage, the figure's face flickering between human and reptile. Ethan admitted he felt a strange fascination, realizing that some hauntings were more than just ghosts, they were transformations, echoes of ancient fears. The friends sat in silence, the image of the glowing eyes lingering, the footage a reminder that the line between human and animal was sometimes thinner than anyone realized. The next video was from a subway tunnel in Boston, recorded in 2020. The footage showed empty tracks stretching into darkness, the only light from flickering bulbs overhead. At 3:33 a.m., the camera caught a figure walking along the tracks, dressed in old-fashioned clothes, its face hidden by a hat. The figure paused, looking directly at the camera, eyes glowing blue. Suddenly, the lights went out, and when they came back on, the figure was gone, replaced by a cold mist swirling along the rails. Olivia researched the tunnel and found it was the site of a deadly accident a century ago, dozens of workers buried alive during construction. Maya whispered that the figure was a lost soul, still searching for a way out. Jake enhanced the footage, the blue eyes burning into the screen. Ethan felt a chill, realizing that some hauntings were about unfinished journeys, spirits trapped between departure and arrival. The friends sat in silence, the image of the empty track stretching on forever, the footage a reminder that some paths never lead home. They decided to watch a clip from a motel in Utah, recorded in 2019. The footage showed a deserted hallway, faded carpet and peeling wallpaper under flickering lights. At 2:18 a.m., the camera caught a door opening by itself, a shadowy figure stepping into the hall. The figure moved jerkily, its limbs bending at unnatural angles, its face a blur of shifting features. The friends watched as the figure paused in front of the camera, its head tilting in a way no humans could, before vanishing into the nearest room. Olivia found reports of guests fleeing the motel in terror, claiming to see the thing in the hallway. Maya whispered that the figure's movements matched descriptions of sleep paralysis demons. Jake enhanced the footage, the face shifting between dozens of expressions in a single second. Ethan admitted he never wanted to stay in a motel again. The friends realized that some unexplained footage was a warning, a glimpse of nightmares made real, and that some places were haunted not by the dead, but by fear itself. The next video was from a small-town diner in Kansas, recorded in 2015. The footage showed empty booths and a neon sign flickering outside. At 3:11 a.m., the jukebox turned on by itself, playing an old love song. The camera caught a couple dancing in the middle of the diner, their forms transparent and shimmering. As the song ended, the couple faded away, leaving the diner empty and silent once more. The friends watched in awe, the bittersweet beauty of the moment lingering in the air. Olivia found a story about a couple who had died in a car crash on their way to the diner decades ago, their favorite song still playing on the radio. Maya whispered that the spirits returned to finish their last dance. Jake enhanced the footage, the couple's faces filled with love and longing. Ethan felt a lump in his throat, realizing that some hauntings were about unfinished moments, not just tragedy. The friends sat in silence, the melody echoing in their minds, the footage a reminder that love could linger long after life was over. They moved on to a clip from a hardware store in Texas, recorded in 2021. The footage showed aisles of tools and supplies, the store empty after closing. At 2:41 a.m., the lights flickered and a hammer flew off the shelf, landing in the middle of the aisle. The camera caught a shadowy figure moving between the shelves, its form flickering between solid and transparent. The friends watched as the figure paused, reaching for a tool, its hand passing through the metal as if it wasn't really there. Olivia found reports of a worker who had died in the store years before, crushed by falling shelves. Maya wondered if the spirit was still trying to finish a job left undone. Jake enhanced the footage, the figure's hand passing through objects, its face a mask of frustration and longing. Ethan admitted he felt a strange empathy, realizing that some hauntings were about purpose, not just pain. The friends realized that every unexplained video was a story of someone trying to finish what they started, even after death. The next video was from a college dorm in Vermont, recorded in 2017. The footage showed a hallway lined with doors, the clock reading 3:27 a.m. At first, nothing happened, but then the doors began to open and close by themselves, slamming shut with increasing force. The camera caught a shadowy figure moving from room to room, its form flickering between student and stranger. The friends watched as the figure paused in front of the camera, its face a blur of shifting identities, before vanishing into the darkness. Olivia found stories of a student who had disappeared from the dorm years before, her case never solved. Maya whispered that the spirit was searching for her own room, lost in a maze of memories. Jake enhanced the footage, the figure's face shifting between dozens of identities. Ethan felt a chill, realizing that some hauntings were about being lost, unable to find a way home. The friends sat in silence, the image of the endless hallway burned into their minds, the footage a reminder that some mysteries were never meant to be solved. They decided to watch a clip from a church basement in Alabama, recorded in 2016. The footage showed rows of folding chairs and a single light bulb swinging overhead. At 2:02 a.m., the chairs began to move by themselves, scraping across the floor in a slow, deliberate circle. The camera caught a shadowy figure standing in the center, its arms raised as if conducting a ritual. The friends watched as the light bulb flickered, casting strange symbols on the walls, the figure's face hidden in shadow.
Olivia found rumors of secret societies meeting in the basement decades ago, their rituals never fully explained. Maya whispered that the symbols matched old protection spells. Jake enhanced the footage, the figure's face remaining hidden, the symbols glowing faintly on the walls. Ethan admitted he felt a sense of unease, realizing that some hauntings were about secrets, rituals, and the power of belief. The friends realized that every unexplained video was a piece of a larger puzzle, a glimpse into the hidden history of the world around them. The next video was from a remote gas station in Montana, recorded in 2020. The footage showed the empty pumps under a starless sky, the wind rattling the sign overhead. At 3:59 a.m. the camera caught a car pulling in, headlights off. A figure stepped out, its body unnaturally thin, its movements jerky and inhuman. The friends watched as the figure walked around the pumps, its head turning a full circle before it vanished into the darkness, leaving the car behind with the door still open. Olivia found no record of the car or its owner, as if they had vanished without a trace. Maya whispered that the figure's movements didn't belong to anything human. Jake enhanced the footage, the head turning a full circle, the limbs bending at impossible angles. Ethan admitted he felt a deep sense of unease, realizing that some unexplained footage might not be about ghosts at all, but about things that never belonged in our world. The friends sat in silence, the image of the abandoned car haunting them, the footage a reminder that some mysteries were not meant to be solved. They moved on to a clip from a public pool in Florida, recorded in 2018. The footage showed the empty pool under floodlights, the water perfectly still. At 2:26 a.m. the camera caught ripples forming in the water, as if someone was swimming just below the surface. Suddenly, a pale hand reached up, grabbing the edge of the pool, followed by a face with hollow eyes and a mouth full of water. The friends watched as the figure pulled itself out, leaving a trail of wet footprints that evaporated before reaching the gate. Olivia found a report of a drowning at the pool years before. The victim never recovered. Maya whispered that the spirit was still trying to escape, trapped in the moment of death. Jake enhanced the footage, the face twisted in silent agony, the footprints fading into nothing. Ethan felt a wave of sadness, realizing that some hauntings were about unfinished escapes, spirits caught between water and air. The friends sat in silence, the image of the pale hand burned into their minds, the footage a reminder that some tragedies never let go. The next video was from a city park in Seattle, recorded in 2019. The footage showed empty playground equipment swaying in the wind, the streetlights casting long shadows. At 3:03 a.m. the camera caught a child's laughter echoing through the park, though no one was visible. Suddenly, the swings began to move by themselves, and a shadowy figure appeared at the top of the slide, its form flickering between child and adult. The friends watched as the figure slid down, vanishing before it reached the ground. Olivia found stories of a child who had disappeared from the park decades ago, her laughter said to haunt the playground. Maya whispered that the spirit was still playing, lost in a game that never ended. Jake enhanced the footage, the figure's form shifting between ages, the laughter echoing in the background. Ethan admitted he felt a strange mix of fear and pity, realizing that some hauntings were about innocence lost. The friends sat in silence, the sound of laughter lingering, the footage a reminder that some spirits never grew up. They decided to watch a clip from a historic hotel in Louisiana, recorded in 2017. The footage showed a grand staircase and ornate lobby, the chandeliers casting shifting patterns on the walls. At 1:59 a.m., the camera caught a woman in a white dress descending the stairs, her feet never touching the steps. The friends watched as she glided across a lobby, pausing to look directly into the camera, her eyes empty and her mouth moving in a silent plea for help. Olivia found a legend about the bride of the stairs, a woman who died on her wedding night, her spirit seen wandering the hotel ever since. Maya whispered that the woman's eyes seemed to follow them, even through the screen. Jake enhanced the footage, the silent plea on her lips clear and haunting. Ethan felt a chill, realizing that some hauntings were about heartbreak, spirits searching for closure that would never come. The friends sat in silence, the image of the bride's empty eyes lingering, the footage a reminder that some love stories ended in tragedy. The friends sat together, the weight of everything they had seen pressing down on them. Jake hesitated before playing the next clip, a security video from a remote hiking trail in Colorado, recorded in 2021. The footage showed a narrow path winding through dense forest, the moonlight barely reaching the ground. At 2:17 a.m. camera caught a figure moving between the trees, its body impossibly tall and thin, its arms stretching far longer than human. The friends watched as the figure paused, turning its head toward the camera, its face a blur of shifting shadows. Olivia found reports of hikers vanishing on the trail, their last sightings always at night. Maya whispered that the figure matched descriptions of the Slender Man legend, but this footage was real, not a story. Jake enhanced the video, the figure's face shifting between dozens of expressions, none of them human. Ethan admitted he never wanted to hike at night again. The friends realized that some unexplained footage was a warning, a glimpse of things that waited in the dark, and that some legends were born from truth. They moved on to a clip from a suburban backyard in Virginia, recorded in 2022. The footage showed a swing set swaying in the wind, the porch light flickering. At 3:12 a.m. the camera caught a child's voice, singing a lullaby, though no one was visible. Suddenly, a small figure appeared at the edge of the yard, its face hidden in shadow, its movements jerky and unnatural. The friends watched as the figure walked toward the swing, sat down, and vanished as the swing began to move by itself. Olivia found stories of a child who had disappeared from the neighborhood years before, a lullaby said to haunt the night. Maya whispered that the spirit was still searching for home. Jake enhanced the footage, the figure's face remaining hidden, the swing moving in perfect rhythm with the song. Ethan felt a chill, realizing that some hauntings were about longing, spirits caught between worlds. The friends sat in silence, the sound of the lullaby echoing in their minds, the footage a reminder that some goodbyes were never said. The friends realized they had reached the end of their playlist, but the apartment felt colder, the shadows deeper. Jake suggested they check the security camera in their own hallway, just to be sure. The footage showed the empty corridor outside their door, the clock reading 3:33 a.m. Suddenly, a shadow moved past the camera, pausing in front of their door. The friends watched in horror as the shadow pressed its hand against the lens, leaving a faint, wet handprint before vanishing into the darkness. Olivia's voice shook as she realized the handprint matched the ones from the laundromat footage. Maya whispered that maybe, by watching so many haunted videos, they had invited something in. Jake enhanced the footage, the handprint clear and unmistakable. Ethan locked the door, his hands trembling. The friends sat together, the sense of being watched stronger than ever, the footage a reminder that sometimes the scariest hauntings were the ones that followed you home. That night, as the friends tried to sleep, the images from the footage replayed in their minds. Maya lay awake, listening to the faint sound of a lullaby drifting through the walls. Olivia stared at the ceiling, the memory of empty eyes and silent screams haunting her. Jake checked the hallway camera again, but the screen was black, the lens smeared with a wet handprint. Ethan whispered that maybe some things were better left unseen, but no one answered. The apartment felt smaller, the darkness pressing in from every corner. As the clock struck 3:33 a.m. the friends heard footsteps in the hallway, slow and deliberate. The wet handprint on the camera began to drip, the water pooling on the floor. Maya closed her eyes, hoping it was all a nightmare, but the sound of the footsteps grew louder. Olivia whispered that they should never have watched the footage, that some mysteries were meant to stay hidden. The friends huddled together, The darkness closing in, the story ending not with answers, but with the chilling certainty that some hauntings never leave and some footage should never be seen.